Hi, everybody. I know it's been a while since I posted, but I wanted to check in. Um, I am on the second year post diagnosis, and I just wanted to kind of talk about my experience, share things that have been helpful that I think could help other survivors. So, I think first and foremost, the hardest part about ending treatment is support. When you're going through treatment, you're kind of in this safe cocoon. It's a hard cocoon and a cocoon that you struggle in, but it's a warm cocoon nonetheless. Okay, I'm going to stop saying cocoon, but the point being that you are really, you're seeing your doctors frequently. Um, you know, if you are fortunate to have the support from family, friends, there's just so many people that want to help, which is so wonderful. And then you finish treatment, and it's not that that support goes away, but it looks different. You're not seeing your doctors as regularly. You are probably not having the same kind of interface with folks supporting you that you did previously, and it can feel lonely. And I have definitely experienced that. Um, I also think you have to give yourself credit for the trauma that you experienced. So I was stage 3A. I had, so my final diagnosis, I started with ER/PR positive, HER2 negative. Post surgery, I was ER positive. So my tumor is primarily estrogen driven. I am at a higher chance of recurrence. And I also recognize the fact that if it comes back, it will likely come back as metastatic. So I think just recognizing the trauma is number one. And I think when you stand still post treatment, that trauma really hits you. Um, to say I have PTSD is an understatement. When I was going through treatment, I really resisted therapy. Quite frankly, I just didn't have the energy. And there just wasn't that need to kind of seek that because, again, I was in kind of this warm womb of support there. I used a different word than cocoon. Um, so I will say that I have gotten into therapy. I do it virtually just because with my work schedule and having a 3-year-old little boy, that works best. I'll be honest, I have not always been the best person at sticking with therapy. Um, I think just because I felt nervous, like, what do I say? How is this really going to help me? And I got to tell you, it's really just about finding the right therapist. And so I feel like I found that. It's really just an hour, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever you prefer, to just let it out. This is somebody that's purely objective, that doesn't have any agenda, that you can really talk about your worst fears to. For me, like, I don't want to talk to my family and husband about that because as supportive as they are, they're scared too. So I just feel like sometimes when I do that, it amplifies their own anxiety, which in turn amplifies mine. So therapy is number one thing that has really helped me post treatment. Number two is communicating with my care team. So I think, we all go down the rabbit hole of Googling secondary breast cancer and what that looks like and what the symptoms are. And I definitely have had, some symptoms and some issues. Post treatment, I'm on a Rumidex and Verzenio, also known as abemaciclib. So I've had some issues with the Verzenio specifically, some lung issues. So I have seen my care team, but I've also just expressed to my oncologist that I would like to see her a little more frequently. Even though I've graduated to, 3 to 6 month follow-ups, when I am feeling something off, when I am feeling, just unlike myself, I reach out. And although it hasn't been cancer, each time I felt like something is not right, something hasn't been right. And we've been able to take care of it. And so I think so many women feel like a nuisance. but you have to advocate for yourself. And after everything we've been through, we really know our bodies, and we know, we know when something's wrong. So I would say empower your fears, but control your fears. And so the analogy that I try to think about is allow yourself to go there sometimes, because you know what? I'm 39 years old and I had a very scary disease. And compared to other 39-year-olds, I definitely have had to think about mortality more than I would have thought. And that is hard and that is scary. And I have a 3-year-old and a husband, and I really love my life. And I think it's okay to have those days where you just let those fears kind of take over and cry and really kind of just let that happen. But I always think back to this quote by Mark Twain, which is, I have spent most of my life worrying about things that have never happened. And that's really empowering, because whether the cancer comes back or it doesn't, I am doing everything I can to have it not come back. I am exercising. I am taking endocrine therapy. I am keeping up on the clinical trials to see if there might be something that could be appropriate once I finish this round. And actually, I just had a meeting with my oncologist. And there is a clinical trial that I'm going to be eligible for when I finish Verzenio. So that's the other piece I think about, is live in the moment, live in the present, and also know that there are so many amazing discoveries happening every single day when it comes to breast cancer treatment. And I truly believe that one day there will be a cure. And until then, all I can do is continue to live in every day, soak up every day, enjoy the present, and as much as possible, because I'm not going to not worry, not think about the things that I can't control. And the cancer coming back is something that I cannot control. All I can do is listen to my doctors, take my medication, and make any lifestyle changes that are going to support that even more. I think though too, like, don't rush it. There is no, like, I remember saying to my husband, like, when do I get to not think about cancer? And the answer is, I don't think there will be a time. It's always going to be a part of my story. It's always going to be a part of me, and that's okay. But you have to figure out that balance. I also think, there's a stigma with medications. I got on Zoloft after a pregnancy loss and stayed on it. So I was actually already on it when I had my cancer diagnosis. I think there's this feeling like sometimes with people that, oh, I should get off of this. It's really helped me, and it has created a balance. So that's something that I'm continuing to take, because I think it does help me. It has side effects, but so does everything else we're on. I think the other piece post-treatment is, getting back to that intimacy in your relationship. I think we all can relate that when you're going through treatment, that certainly takes a back seat. And so my best advice there is be really honest with your partner about that, and don't be afraid to try new things. In a separate video, I'll talk more about, what that looks like. I don't want to get too intimate, but I think just having that conversation with your partner will make you feel better. Putting out there what your fears are, and what's comfortable, what's not comfortable. But I think to not talk about it, it's just going to bother you. It's going to bother your partner. You're both obviously thinking about it. There's also intimacy coaches. There's also pelvic floor therapy, which can be really helpful with, I know for me, since my cancer is estrogen driven, I had my ovaries out. So there's dryness, there's a lot that you can do. And so talk to your doctor, look to see what resources are available to you and include your partner in that conversation so that they can better understand and better support you in a physical and emotional way. Um, so, some of the things that have helped me feel more confident, um, I like doing a daily affirmation. I find that when my anxiety starts to really get out of control is when I start to think too far ahead. So a daily affirmation really keeps me grounded and in the moment. I continue to try meditation. It is not something that I do easily. I am somebody that has always overthought, overanalyzed, and that has been compounded by cancer and made it 10 times worse. So calming my mind is easier said than done, but I'm not giving up. So I'm continuing to work on the meditation. Journaling was actually one of my 2025 affirmations. This year, we actually did a time capsule and put in kind of what we hope to accomplish. And I know the January resolutions, it's cliche, but this year I really focused on things that were tangible, and things that I wanted to work on internally and not my physical self. Cause I think it's always, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to lose 10 pounds and whatever. I think being healthy and exercising and all of those things are important, but for me, it was internal. So journaling, um, and also finding a hobby. So for me, I got a Cricut, and so crafting through cancer is my new hashtag. Um, I'm not saying that that has fixed things, but finding a hobby, finding something that brings me joy and happiness and all of that has been really good for me. I think being a mom, being a wife, being a cancer survivor, you wear all of these hats and you've got to be able to find something that's just for you. And that has really helped and I really enjoy it. Um, I think also just like finding joy in cooking, I've really been trying to when I think about dieting and those pieces, like that's where I failed. So like really just thinking about like eating healthy, but allowing myself to indulge and enjoy. As cancer survivors, we all can appreciate so much that life is short. And so I think just not putting too much pressure on yourself. I'm in menopause. That changes the way my body looks. It changes the way, I lose weight, gain weight, my hormones, my moods. So you've got to just give yourself a break and just go with how you feel. And I try to walk every day. There's days I'm tired. You got to listen to your body and this is something my oncologist said to me that because when I finished traditional treatment, I kept saying like, well, I'm done with treatment. And she said, you're actually in the most important part of your treatment, which is endocrine therapy. And that is still very much being in treatment. So giving myself kind of that grace that I still am experiencing side effects in those pieces and allowing myself to rest when I need to. So I think that's kind of where I've been at. I've had really high highs, really low lows. I think that's very normal. Um, but I hope that this can help. And, I'm always happy to message with people individually that are post treatment. I think support groups are also a wonderful thing. That's not something I've done a lot of. Like I said, I try to kind of try one thing at a time. Right now, I'm really focused on weekly therapy and I'm finding that very helpful. But the other analogy too that people have told me, and I think like, especially if I'm feeling panicky when that anxiety is really starting to take control, is allowing it to happen and then kind of putting it on that metaphorical shelf and putting it away, and saying, okay, I'm going to put it up here. It's still there, but that's enough for today. And I may need to revisit it. And my shelf is pretty full of those emotional boxes. But for some reason, that analogy really helps me. And again, going back to that quote that the things I worry about are often things that never happen. If the cancer is going to come back, that is not in my control. So what good is it going to do having myself worry about it every single day. It, again, doesn't mean I won't, but I think repeating that mantra, um, and I think as survivors, we have been given a gift of viewing life through a different lens. And I know for me that gift is something that I treasure and that I'm not going to waste. And so part of the crafts that I'm doing is making a kind of breast cancer line of clothes and other things. And I am going to be starting an Etsy page, which I'm working towards. So as soon as I do, I will give some updates on that. A percentage of the proceeds from any of those sales is going to go toward breast cancer research and some of my favorite breast cancer nonprofits that helped me during my journey, which I will talk about in another video. So yeah, so that's more to come. But, I just want to say to all of you out there, just one foot in front of the other, one day at a time, because that's really all we can do. So I, you know, I applaud you all in whatever piece of the journey you're on. And I'll post very soon, but feel free to comment, reach out with things that you find helpful, affirmations that you made for the new year. I'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe.